Episode 154. Is your real estate brokerage changing the game for you? Listen in, and you're going to find out.
Some of them might be.
That's all we need to do.
That's what they're telling me as well. It's
50.
Like the same thing.
154 episodes is what we're talking about right now.
Yes, exactly.
So this is the 154th episode, and today we're talking about, look, there's some changes going on. There's a lot of movement in the real estate brokerage space. And so is your real estate brokerage that you're a part of or that you're looking at, is that brokerage changing the game in that space? Is it changing the game for you as an agent? So before we get started on that, comment, number one, do you believe if your brokerage is really changing the game?
Changing it for better or for worse?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think people would comment like, oh, my brokerage is definitely changing it for worse?
Well, if it's just coming up as Facebook user, then there's a hint of anonymity there. So maybe.
So we did figure out there's an issue. So those of you who are coming up as Facebook user, apparently you have to allow StreamYard, which is the program that we use to do our streaming. You have to allow them to do some to allow them to see your comments.
Your names, absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's the Chinese people steering your information.
It's probably true.
It's big tech.
Yeah, 100%. Here, these people also allow us to stream right now as our sponsors.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're the only reasons why we can stream today. And it's because of MortgageMikeOfTexas.com. If you're looking for that best loan officer, that guy that's going to give all those Mortgage Mike stamp of approvals, he's the only one that's got it. I think he's got that trademarked. And if
it doesn't, we should.
Yeah, for sure. Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. Just go to MortgageMikeOfTexas.com and Mortgage Mike of Oklahoma.
Of Oklahoma.com.
Just Mortgage Mike okay.
I'm not.
Is Mortgage Mike okay? Is Mortgage Mike okay?
Ooh, I like that one. Is Mortgage Mike okay?
Let's do that one.
That's a good.
Yes.
I once got, speaking of trademarks, I got a cease and desist letter from another agent one time. I'm not going to say who it is. You can just go look at the Secretary of State website, type in this trademark, and you'll see what agent it is. Because I said on a Facebook post on a listing that sold, I was like, poof, it's gone. And I got a cease and desist letter from this agent's lawyer saying that this agent had trademarked that saying, and I was not allowed. And I had to go and of course, being the asshole that I am, I was like, absolutely not. And I changed the post to say, poof, and then I put the agent's name, did not sell this house.
Did it work?
It worked until my broker was like, please stop doing that. Like, please stop putting us in situations where you're skirting the rules. And I was like, ah.
You know who doesn't skirt the rules is Armadillo Home Warranty. Getting that protection, that armored protection that hard shell protection for your house. So, actually Theron came out to, and I'm going to go with Theron this time because some people actually do believe his name is the Ron.
Yeah, we say that so much that people are starting to believe it.
So he came out. He sponsored the Top Agent Elite Mastermind that David Bitnick put on. Amazing turnout, by the way.
Looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, great time. So thank you, Theron, for helping that out, as well as every agent that we've introduced you to that you've helped. They rave.
I had lunch with Theron today, finally.
At Chili's?
Not at Chili's. We went to Coffee House. I should have actually taken him to Chili's.
Yeah, I should have.
That would have been really fun.
Yeah, so armadillo.1/store. If you're, look, it's this is the best home warranty out there. I'm going to tell you right now. Just go check it out. Go talk to Theron. He's not going to let you down. He promises you that. Once you commit to Theron, there's nothing else out there. Just trust me on this.
Jesse, can you mute? Oh, you can't mute my microphone.
Yeah. And last but not least is Homeward Property Management. So Homeward Property Management. So it's homeward.dfw.com. If you're looking for that perfect home warranty or that perfect property management company, everyone's on their phones right now. Property management company here in Dallas. You need to get with Dana Wynn. We're seeing a lot of homeowners right now talk about renting their house, or maybe they have rented their house in the past and they're trying to do a rental analysis. We do that for them. We will take a look to see where maybe the gaps are. Are they renting it too low? Could they start pushing that up? Maybe it might make sense just to sell the property. And so go talk to Dana Wynn, homewarddfw.com.
I had to give an Airbnb guest a entry code, and I totally forgot to do that.
What is the code?
Can't tell you the code.
54321.
Yes. All right. So episode 154 on this one is look, the changing, it sounded like a record coming off.
Remix.
Yeah. So
kinda cool.
we're seeing some changes that brokerages are doing in the space right now, because obviously with the market changing, they need to get ahead of the curve. We're seeing layoffs happen. Now we're starting to see with Redfin and Compass. So Compass just announced that they have ditched offering stock and financial incentives to recruit agents over to their brokerage.
They also announced they took a $101 million loss.
Yes.
Whoa.
But the CEO says that they should be profitable next year.
I mean, that's actually it's not uncommon for tech companies to take massive losses in their first few years. All of the greatest tech companies in the world have. This is maybe a quick side note. I'm really tired of real estate companies posing as tech companies and then using that as a PR thing to be like, that's the reason we took losses. We'll be profitable in the future. Like, you're not a tech company. You're a real estate brokerage. I'm just going to throw that out there in front. Like, my broker has done it in the past as well. We've got to stop doing this. We've got to stop acting like real estate brokerages are tech companies, because they're not.
Yes and no. Like, if you're going public, is it better to act like a tech company because you get a higher valuation?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, though, because you're saying yes and no. Like, that's how they act, but it's no and no. They don't sell technology. That it's not a SaaS company. It's not any of that. It's a real estate brokerage, which is an amazing industry to be in, but let's not.
What's a technology company that has a real estate brokerage that sells houses because of the technology?
No one.
Oh, okay.
There aren't any. There just aren't any. Like,
But if you're going to go public, right? If Brian Force and Company is going to go public, and you're looking at your valuations when you go public, you're like, man, Brian Force and Company has a software. If we were a tech company, it's 100 times greater valuation than Brian Force and Company.
I get it, and it's also
that sells ice creams on the street. Like,
you're right. It's also not sexy to market yourself as a real estate brokerage that has cool software and CRMs that we use to help our agents build bigger businesses, which is the truth. And there's all sorts of tech that we use in the real estate industry. We are not tech companies, though.
So let me ask you, so with this, and we're not going to pick on Compass all the way. It's going to be a little bit probably, just because this article in Inman came out. Number one is I was reading some of the comments that it talked about. Actually, let's not go to the comments. There was something that I screenshotted within this Inman article that talked about the splits they were offering to agents.
Okay.
Right? And in that, it mentioned that Compass agents now have to use are required to use the standard commission split the brokerage offers for a given marketplace. And so standard splits at Compass vary from market to market, and the company told them...
Wait, I don't mean to interrupt. Was the sentence you just read, standard splits vary? Because that's what we call an oxymoron. If it's variable, then it isn't standard.
Well, it's standard for their marketplace.
Okay. I'm going to let that go.
Look, if it's written in
I
Inman,
just love press releases.
it's written in Inman, right?
I get it. Just don't
So
know.
look at it this way, right? So you come in here and say, all right, so the person explained the new commission policy on the call Monday by saying if a new agent comes to the company with a split that is better than what Compass offers, then they will be allowed to keep that split for 1 year. After that first year, the agent will then go to Compass standard split for the area.
Okay. All right. So and across different areas, there's
Yes.
different standards.
The policy only applies going forward, meaning current agents who join with an individualized commission splits will be allowed to keep them.
So the business model is, after a year, it's going to become a shittier partnership with us.
So now knowing that, right? So knowing that Brian and Company joined Compass, let's say that, and that's
That almost sounded like it was on purpose.
Yes. And so let's say Brian joins Compass, and I've already been here, and I'm like, Brian, like, this is the splits, and they only offered it to you for 1 year, and it's different. Like, the problem that I see is that it's not all equal grounds. right? Or is it truly? Are you truly incentivized for being a top producer there?
Well, the top producer thing is the caveat there. If I was a number one wide receiver and you're like, well, your rookie contract's going to be amazing, but after that, we're going to pay you less every year.
We're going to pay you the standard
Yeah,
wide
like,
receiver.
it doesn't make any sense.
Per the area.
Like, I don't understand why. How is that business model going to work long term? I don't run a massive brokerage, so I'm sure there's plenty of things I haven't considered and I'm missing. This doesn't sound like a real agent attraction tool.
No, and let me ask you this. So there's something that we've always talked about, and I believe Gary has talked about this. And we're not talking about Compass the whole time. Like I said,
Only 17 minutes in and we were running late, so we're really only 11 minutes and 23 seconds in.
Just wait. I mean, it's going to be. We'll
talk poorly about a lot of things today.
That's right. But the way that we've always looked at when running our teams is if you recruit people to your team based on leads, they leave you based on leads.
100%.
So if you were attracting people in for a sign-on bonus incentive, so stock, marketing expenses.
Yep.
Recruiting sign-on bonus, et cetera, or a special split.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, that's no longer the case. Where's your value proposition to come join XYZ company?
Unless they're providing you more value for the extra split that you're paying them after year one, I don't see why it would make sense.
Right.
I mean, and I even say this with our team, just in full transparency. We both run teams with a lot of agents, a lot of people to take care of, a lot of people that we serve, and I have the split conversation very often with my agents, and I even say this going in. I said, look, everything in this business is a meritocracy. If you come to me and you have a desire to have a conversation about certain financial things that we're doing in this business, I will lay out a game plan where it's mutually beneficial for both of us going forward. That's going to involve you accomplishing certain things along the way. I think there should be the same thing with any broker as well. If you're telling me that we're actually going to go backwards, but you are not incentivized as a broker to provide me any more value after year one, then like that doesn't really compute with me.
And I've always wondered this question, by the way. Like I've heard there's especially in the EXP world, you start to see other brokers that kind of mimics the EXP model, right?
Yeah, a lot.
And so there's some other models out there that are cheaper options and offer like the revenue share and the stock and everything else. And so, but when you go look at their models, their path to getting profitable is tough, because when you look at the actual company dollar they make, it's like, all right, there's not you're going to have to pull a miracle Hail Mary, throwing it from the 10-yard line across the field and hit it and score a touchdown in order to be profitable. And so my whole point of this and my whole thought process, maybe this is just how I think running a business, is that if I'm going to go join a brokerage, or if I'm going to align my business with their business, wouldn't you want to be with a company that knows how to run a profitable venture?
I would think so, right? And correct me if I'm wrong here. I think that this is maybe the downside of using stock and things like that and equity as a recruiting mechanism. That is because I might be wrong. I'm just talking shit here, but like I think it puts you as a business in a situation where you have to continue to expand and grow, otherwise you will eventually siphon yourself off. Because if you give equity to everyone, you're dependent on, let's just say it's in the form of stock. The more people you join, the more equity you're essentially giving out. If you don't continue to grow and that stock drops, then you're really, really, really in a tough situation as far as the people that have equity in the company, right? So like, I actually think that the equity part of it seems, I just don't think it's a long-term business model at all. It hasn't seemed to work for very many companies.
Possibly.
Investment banks, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, from that, I think it's a tool and a mechanism. But if that's your value proposition, that you should join us because of that, of the stock. If you're joining us because of sign-on bonuses, if you're coming because you get a 99% split and the company only makes one, and the company rolls out the red carpet. And so an agent's like, the problem that I have with the real estate agent space is that what they want to do is they want to look for the cheapest option to go to out there.
Sure.
Right? But also they get mad when their clients want to go look for the cheapest option out there. Right?
Man, this thing where agents are with like discount brokers, and then they get mad when their clients want like part of their commission back or something.
Or even transactional brokers. Like
yeah.
I don't like to call them discount
That's
brokers.
not a good word. Yeah, you're right.
Like transactional
Transactional
brokers.
brokers.
They're like, oh, it's because I get more of the pie. Well, okay. So the question I always ask is, well, do you offer a transactional fee just to your client itself because they need to get more of the pie? Well, no, I don't do that. Right? So we're having a disconnect between the value propositions and what companies should do to help you grow. Like,
yeah. No, 100%.
What companies should be expected to do to help you grow too, though, because this is a common thing that we all experience. And if everybody's being honest with themselves in the real estate space, they definitely, and I fall prey to this too. I want more than I'm willing to give in that relationship most of the time, right? I'm looking at my money going out regardless of whether I'm getting anything back if I'm closing deals. And then if you're coming from a place of lack, which we know a lot of real estate agents are, even if they're doing well, their finances may not be great.
Yeah.
And that's how you're enticed to these $25,000, $50,000 sign-on bonuses when you're not really doing anything to sell any real estate. Your business isn't growing. I know of somebody who got a sign-on bonus from a real estate company that just based off their name. They had a little bit of kind of B-rate fame coming into real estate.
don't talk bad about me that way.
I know, right? But it worked out great for them. But also, their real estate sales at the time weren't incredibly high,
really,
right? So I think I can see why it appeals to people for the same reason. I think we have to acknowledge that probably 80% of this industry is hanging on by their teeth 6 months out of the year. So they're constantly looking for ways to save money.
That yes, I could not agree more with. I do think that people do make a lot of decisions out of a little bit of a scarcity mindset. That's usually not a good atmosphere to be making quality decisions.
Let me ask you, whose fault? And is this the brokerage fault, like the brokerage competitions? And we may have talked about this early on in our shows back in the day. Is from a brokerage standpoint, it's the race to the bottom. And I believe we've talked about this, right? So everyone is the race to the bottom to offer the cheapest. And then when we go really look at all the options out there, whether it's a transactional, whether it's full service, brokerages, X, Y, and Z. If you go and break down the true numbers and you're a producer, they all come out to relatively the same spend. Right? It's basically if you have two large pizzas side by side and you cut up one in 16 slices and one in 8 and say which one do you get more of? Well, they're both two large pizzas.
Oh, it's super. I mean, that actually is true with when we talk about the transactional broker thing. Like the reality is for most people or most transactional brokers, there's either a cap with that transactional broker, which is pretty close to what you would pay at a regular full service broker, or you might pay more if you sell too many houses. And so you actually end up paying more at a transactional broker if there's no cap. But then they're kind of their recruiting value prop maybe is like the only you do a transaction fee and you get to keep the rest of your commission and stuff. But then that really stifles your growth unless there's a cap. When in that case, you're just cutting the large pizza up differently.
So are we saying
you're just getting to the same place in a different way?
So are we saying like really brokerages aren't changing like there's not really a brokerage out there when we hear we heard it with EXP in the beginning, they're disrupting the space. No, they weren't. They just offered something just a tad bit different and people got onto that.
Brokers are changing the game of real estate brokerages competing with one another. That's what they're changing. You know who doesn't know about this stuff? People that buy and sell houses, the clients that don't give a shit.
Yeah. so it's not really doing anything different. Like what I would love to see a brokerage do, like to really nail the internet marketing space. That's done for you all in one solution, at a full service 80-20, 70-30, a little bit of a maybe you have a ongoing small split or a royalty or ongoing transactional fee after you cap. Like someone who can come in and say, look, we're going to take Matt Kelderman's videos, Matt does a really great job, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to make it all-encompassing where it's now going to blanket the entire social medias. It's going to follow everyone around. They're also anybody that clicks on it, it's going to track their IP and then figure out maybe if we can find their addresses, and all of a sudden letters are going to get sent out to those people with Matt's name on it. Hey, did you see the video? X, Y, and Z. We have not seen a brokerage or even in the real estate team space able to do that. One, it costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money and a lot of expertise. And, we haven't seen it. Most teams don't do it at a terribly high level. I would say that, it's funny because what you're talking about is more like what platforms are moving towards, right? Like the I don't know what you call it, like the in-between between, like a local team and a major brokerage. There's a platform space now, and that is really what they're implementing is things like that. It's doing the things that we talk about in the brokerage world, in the real estate world in general. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Stay in your 20%. Do the things that you are good at. Leverage everything else out. Brokers will train you to do that. Good brokers will, and they'll create a culture where you can do that. Teams will do that, but I think that there's more to be done on that side. It's really what platforms are trying to aim to do.
They're trying to do.
Yeah.
My concern in the platform space is once they get to a certain comfort level, then it's back to we're back into now they're just another brokerage.
That's where, and I think that's the part of this where it breaks down, is there's a certain scale where you get to where it no longer makes a money, time, efficiency sense to kind of write personalized plans for people, right? You have to start doing the training that appeases to 150,000 people or 80,000 people, and inevitably you're going to slow way down. The value is going to go down. It's going to become way more about numbers, right? How do we get whatever the verbiage is? How do we get cap friendly, cap managed, right? Like whatever that looks like in each individual brokerage, they're all doing the same thing. Just like your real estate business, they have bills to pay at the end of the day. And I think that's because you asked the question earlier, like whose fault is it? I think it's a combination of a ton of things. Unrealistic expectations based off like the fact that the barrier to get in is relatively affordable and what you see on TV looks really super sexy. Brokerages selling the moon to everybody because even if you sell a couple of deals a year, like we've done the math, like it doesn't take many transactions for an agent to become profitable in the sense of the giant machine.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So even if you're coming in doing 2 or 3 deals a year, which is not enough to stay in real estate at all, there's still value in you as a real estate agent to a brokerage. And that's why it breaks, because it just ultimately becomes a big business.
Well, and look, you worked. It's kind of like, when a loan officer or any vendor comes to a real estate agent, they're willing to show them how they're going to work, or they're going to give them leads, or they're going to give them a deal, right? They're like, look, I'm different than everyone else. And then what happens, they start doing business, and then all of a sudden they have to go get more, or they can't keep giving what they promised, right? And that's what happens when starting new companies, right? What do we do? And when you grind it out, and you're willing to take less, and then all of a sudden you start getting success, and you're like, man, I've been grinding it out for very little, and then all of a sudden you start taking more, and then again, it's like we're this hungry beast that just keeps wanting to eat more and more of it, and then eventually, you're right, it gets to that point where it is just, all right, how many people can we squeeze in here, and we can get 2 or 3 deals a year because it makes sense scale, large number wise, and 3 deals. If we get 3 deals a year from an agent, all we need to do is get 50 of those agents. That's 150 more deals. And how much more money is that versus the cost?
Well, I guess that's actually a really good point to make when we talk about, is your broker changing the game and kind of the we'll call it the broker wars or whatever. I think it all comes down eventually to us, the agents. Like, is it our fault? Because what I mean by that is like, at the brokerage level, especially a very large brokerage with tens of thousands of agents and stuff, you talk about, doing 2 or 3 deals a year, and then we need to get like 50 agents doing that. Like, there are hard costs involved in bringing on those 50 agents. It's much easier to have 50 deals from 3 agents, right? And from a profitability standpoint. And so I think one of the things that we consider is that, this may sound morbid, but most real estate agents don't do very many deals, and the brokers do have to support them. And so at scale, that's where things do break down, is you're expected to provide the same amount of value to thousands of agents, when the reality is thousands of agents really don't get up every day and do the necessary work to actually build and grow their business, but you still have hard costs inherent in serving them. So really, as you get bigger, it's actually more expensive per agent to bring people on, because you're only going to have so many killers out there. And so it becomes really difficult at scale to provide that same amount of value, because things start to break down, because you're not just bringing on real producers.
No,
it makes it really difficult.
Yeah, you're correct. It actually can go both ways, though. Yeah. When you get large enough to scale and bring on more people, it's not as expensive.
With economies of scale, for sure. Yeah, there's maybe a bell curve in here somewhere. But I'm just saying,
I would venture to say it's probably over 100 agents within a platform or team.
Sure.
Right. So like you start getting that, and you start looking at the top 20% are going to do 80% of the deals, right? And you start looking at like, all right, so you have 100. That means top 20% is doing. That's I have 20 agents really crushing it. They're going to be a good net profit center. We can give back more to this, and so there's ways to start looking at it. But the question is, as a brokerage or a platform or team, how are they going to, especially in the brokerage, because right now it's the brokerages that we're offering these incentives. So
right.
The teams aren't able to do that, right? The teams where they can get really kind of granular or tactical is that, look, they're providing not just the lead flow, but the systems, the tools, the training at a more hands-on approach than the brokerage itself. And so, the other question that we're starting to see is that at what point are brokerages truly in the business of helping us grow, or are they just in the business of attracting as many in?
That's a really good question. It definitely goes both ways, and I think that again that's a scalability issue, because I think that in an industry where you can build the business so many different ways, the ability to help more and more people grow becomes a very difficult puzzle to put together when you're running with tens of thousands of agents or hundreds of thousands of agents at scale. And so that does become a bit of an uphill battle. The incentives that do we know why Compass did it say any reasoning why they're no longer doing like the stock options or anything like that? I'd be curious just to see.
I have a feeling that
I got to think they put something out about that, right? They wouldn't just do it without saying anything.
Well, I believe it's within a goal to get back into profit, to get to profitability, right? So they're letting people go.
A great subheadline. So Compass actually had their highest quarterly revenue.
But their losses increase.
So it's becoming much more expensive to run the business. I would just think, again, this is a long article, and I don't know much about the massive brokerage side of the business, but man, they spend a lot of money.
Seriously.
So we're no longer recruiting agents with equity or cash incentives. Our ability to do this is a reflection of the value the platform provides. Over time, we have invested over $900 million to build an unprecedented platform of tools and services. That's
a spin. Like, look, that's word, like you said, word soup or political spin on saying the platform we now provide is so great that we don't have to offer incentives. But they just, by the way, they just stopped it a few months ago. So a few months prior, you tell me the platform wasn't there yet. And then all of a sudden, like, at what point do you say, well, the platform is so great at helping agents get into production, or helping agents increase their production from, X to Y, and this is, by the way, that's an average. So that means do you believe you're above average or below average, and you start going to those conversations.
This is what I would like to see, and they don't talk about this here. So, and my guess is that because there's not a lot of good news in this regard, is I think all of this would feel pretty good from Compass's end if they could also show, hey, the reason that we don't do this anymore is because through the platform that we spend so much money on, in all of our tech and all that stuff and all the value we provide, the agents that joined Compass increased their production by X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But they don't mention any of that. And just through personal experience, from my personal viewpoint, I don't believe that Compass agents sell any more real estate than anybody else.
Look,
so what are we talking about with all of their amazing tech and everything?
So when we look at it, why they're doing this, right? And that was the question is again, you saw like what Jesse said, it's just word soup, but more importantly, it's not just ditching the stock and the incentives, the sign-on bonuses. It is the reminds me of the downfall of Michael Scott's paper company. It wasn't scalable. Is that if they were on the path to profitability, right? Yeah. And it was just getting rid of the financial incentives or the stocks, the sign-on bonuses, then they also wouldn't say, oh, by the way, that special split that you got, that's only a 1-year deal.
That's only a 1-year deal, and it's going away. That sounds to me like a brokerage that has incredibly high aspirations to make their agents individually more productive than the rest of the industry, and that doesn't seem to be happening. Because if that were true, they'd have a lot more revenue coming in, and the money that they're spending would be well spent. The agents, they'd have a lot more retention and things like that. So this is the other side of it as well. That's going away too. The Redfin client incentive is going away as well, where they don't. What was it? Was 1% before? So Redfin used to give you 1% back when you bought with them. That is going away as well, which this is an entirely different business model. Okay, so there we go. Redfin buyer remate. I sent you guys this article.
No, you did, and basically, it's Redfin has done some test markets where they didn't offer the rebate, and it didn't change the fact that clients were going to Redfin in the first place, and so
no, which is good news. I think it also makes you wonder, just like what's Redfin's value proposition going forward, because that was kind of there we go. Oh no, that's 2017.
Well, yes, going forward, I mean, Look, if I'm with Redfin, and if I'm in the executive or management position, just saying the number one reason to go with us is that our agents are salaried, and so they're not just here for they're not just commission hungry, and so that could be a value proposition to the client. Because the value proposition to agents, I've never looked at it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you've talked to some agents. Is that one? Those are agents that believe they need that consistent salary in order to survive, or just they don't want to ride the commission roller coaster.
Yeah,
they want
stability.
Look, they offer some rebates here. Their cell phones paid for. They get some decent incentives on that, but the producers within that organization are capped, right? They don't. They go sell over 10 million and they're making barely. It was a little over 100, not even much on that.
You sold 10 million?
Something like that. I had interviewed an agent for a while, but when you go look at this and say, all right, what's the value proposition for Redfin? Are we talking about to the consumer? Because the consumer obviously is going there because they have good online SEO presence and they have a good their website, their search engine website, IDX page is probably one of the best ones out there.
I'll be honest, I use their app. I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and so
I like cruising around on it.
Yeah.
The MLS sucks on my phone. MLS, guys, by the way, MLS, all MLSs, get it together. Your technology is so bad. Just make better websites. It's so bad.
I don't have to.
Do you guys know any MLSs that you're like, man, I need to jump on that website?
By the way,
it's really not hard. I could get on WordPress and do that shit in 2 hours. It would look better.
Brian, why would they? You're forced to get it. They have a captive audience.
This is communism at its finest.
It's a monopoly.
It is the antithesis of progress. If they know they're getting that money regardless, they have no incentive to make a better product. But yeah, I actually think
I read that as something else right there on that.
I did too.
I was like, the real what?
That's a really good point too. About in April of 2020, Redfin just cut 40% of their agents during the pandemic when it was on set. So like,
it's good and bad. Like,
it's good and bad.
Look, it's good and bad. Like they cut 40%, and also as a Redfin agent, where we started to see Redfin agents coming and wanting to get out of that space was that during the pandemic, which hopefully we never see a shutdown like that again. Hopefully we've learned from that. But during that pandemic, when Redfin agents had clients that were wanting to make a move or sell, they weren't allowed to use it. They had to go refer it out, and they didn't even get referral money.
Wait, say that again?
So during the pandemic, the shutdown, Redfin was not allowing their agents to operate because look, they're employees of the company, and so they said they could not. If they had a client that was ready to make an offer or sell, they could not do it.
That's really mean,
right? Yeah. So from this is where I see some good news out of all this, and where the brokerages are making moves and waves is that, look, Redfin has tested that offering these rebates and incentives is not necessary, right? And so
I totally agree. Facebook user.
I'm assuming that's probably Theron.
I don't know.
I don't know who that one
This is a fun game I like to play on the show notes. I try to guess who Facebook user is.
Yeah, from Compass to Redfin to communism. This really is a podcast. This podcast really is gold.
I think it's almost like, we talked about different brokerage models, how they're all jacked up, all this type of stuff, our broker stage of the game. Like, it's almost as if the one thing, excuse me, I just burped, sorry. It's almost as if the best thing a brokerage could do for their agents is just simply help them build a better business.
Yes.
Because I will tell you, and this is no disrespect to my brokerage or any brokerage out there in any way, shape, or form,
With all due respect.
With all due respect, and everybody
All
knows who
due
I'm with.
respects.
I love them. I love the people. I love everything. I love the culture here. I love the people here. I love, I love what I have learned along the way and continue to learn. I love the relationships I have. I love all that type of stuff. From like a business structure standpoint, and I believe that a lot of major business owner or large team owners probably feel this way. From a business standpoint, the best thing my broker could do is, stay out of my way is not the right way to put this, but like, let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Right. And they help me a lot to get to where I am. But at this point, I don't really I'm not looking for equity or a buyout, or I shouldn't say that on the air. I mean, in case anybody wants to give me anything, I don't know. I'll check it out. But I just say like, I think brokerages are trying to build too much value on salaried or bonuses or equity or stocks or whatever, and they're building these non-scalable models that are constantly changing because your recruiting value or your recruiting like value proposition is based on what the business can provide you from like a financial standpoint or an equity standpoint. Or how about just getting back to where brokers are supposed to help you build your own business? Because isn't that what this is really about?
But I don't know what brokerages look like. Rookie agents, Logan's right. Rookie agents don't need to choose brokers. They need to choose teams. Brokerage is secondary. And so
it's not a bad point from a dude who's selling an S-load of real estate in his first year in the business.
First year.
And where Logan's spot on and where the brokerages here's the thing. Brokerages missed the boat on this. And both of our brokerages that we're a part of without just saying, without spilling the full beans on it, both of them, while they outwardly love teams, inwardly they don't want teams to succeed all the way, because what that does is that reduces company dollar back to the brokerage.
Here's the thing. If mega teams, that's such a weird way to say that, if they did succeed at a very high level, that there is a direct conflict of interest at some point, because at some point the brokerage becomes essentially unnecessary. If the people running the team just become brokers, then it's sort of, so there's a catch-22 there, in the sense that the brokers and teams have a little bit of a tension-filled relationship at times, because if one gets too big, the other becomes a little bit less relevant, and that's unfortunately that's the nature of the industry.
Well, and that's where now platforms are coming into play. It went from brokerages to it started this way. You had the brokerages, and I don't know if brokerages were really designed to help agents grow. I think the brokerages was started by a broker owner that came in and had a large book of business. They just started marketing. They brought people in to service it. They took probably, I think back in the day I heard it was still always 50-50 split just at a brokerage level.
Yeah, that's how that was the old school, really was, until like the 90s. Or something like that.
I think it was Keller Williams and Remax that may have changed that option.
Pretty sure.
If I remember
so late
correctly.
80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, that's also back in the time where like buyer's agents didn't exist either.
Correct.
It was only listing agents. It's crazy.
And so brokerages then, you started seeing some more brokerages come out and started growing, and it was maybe for a space to kind of evolve into, all right, the agents coming in to support and pay for the necessary items to run a brokerage, and maybe the broker owner or the team leader or the main person there that helped them stay into a higher profitability range and zero out their costs.
Right.
And then ultimately, even when I got in and joined, when I joined Keller Williams, I got in 2005, but when I joined Keller Williams in December of 2007, teams weren't really a thing yet. Mm-mm. It was just now starting. And I remember someone coming to me and like, hey, would you want to join my team? I looked at him like, no. Because it wasn't highly publicized yet.
I just know that conversation went exactly like that too. Nick's such a blunt dude. He was like, no, like just walk off.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't, because there was no reason, there was nothing of explaining what that was, right? It wasn't, hey, we can help you grow. You may be struggling in this, but we have X, Y, and Z to solve it, right? Because money changes hands when problems are solved, and so there wasn't identifying where the problems was. Like, hey, I just started this team. Would you want to join it?
Yeah. And you're
No,
like,
thank you.
Well, yeah. What's in it for me?
Yeah, just come hang out. No, I don't think so. And so, as it is evolved, it went from brokerages to teams to then, the mega agent teams to ultimately the platforms, which is the platforms. And I think we've done a show on this, if I remember correctly. Platforms are the new brokerages.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about this months back. I do believe that's where the industry is heading. I absolutely believe it has to head that way. I also believe that, this is probably far off in the future. This is not unique to real estate. In every industry, progress eventually wins out over time, and consolidation tends to happen. This happens with investment banking. This happens with stock trading. This happens with a lot of things, travel agents, whatever, right? Like, I do believe that platforms will become the new brokers. I also believe that we will see the amount of real estate licensees in this country dwindle by about 40 to 50% over the next 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, for sure.
It just won't be as necessary to have so many people.
Yeah, the people that I was saying was going to drop by, I thought you were going to say in the next 10 years. I don't think it happens that quickly.
I don't think it can happen that quickly.
No. The biggest thing that comes into question right now is the commission dispute within the Department of Justice, that lawsuit going on, and
that's going to be interesting.
Depending on how that plays out, looking at it sounds, I don't see how it's gotten as far as it has, by the way.
It just feels like we have bigger problems to solve.
Yeah, like it doesn't, to me, when you
Jesse, can you Google how many people are living on Skid Row right now?
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, for the amount of time and energy that we put into solving non-problems in this world, like real estate commissions, I think it's...
Holy...
Yeah, it's too many. It's a lot.
Range 8,000 to 11,000 people.
But that's just that one neighborhood of L.A. How many homeless people in general are there in California right now? How many homeless people are in California? See, dude, just Los Angeles came up as like the first.
Yeah.
There's 161,548.
But that was as January 2020.
So there's probably more now.
This says approximately 350,000.
350,000 homeless people in one state in this country. And the Department of I understand this isn't the Department of Justice's job. I'm just giving an example of the larger problems that we should be kind of solving as a society, and we're just BSing around about how much real estate agents make on a deal. What are we doing?
It seems
right
low.
now? That does seem low. Although California is by far the most populous state, so maybe I don't know.
But you look at it like, you're right. There's other things to worry about. The biggest thing is if that were to change, that would change the brokerage game, because that changes the actual, there's going to be some appeals on that. But if they got rid of buyer's agent commissions on that, where the buyer's agent commission had to be picked up by the buyer, right? One, that changes a lot of brokerages, because what they're saying is that cuts revenue of the brokerage in half.
Well, it yes and no. I really think that by proxy, all it would do is just revert the industry back to the way that it was before the early 90s, when you just went to the listing agent and they charged a higher percentage and they represented both sides. What I'm saying is that, like, if we went back to a dynamic where the buyers had to pay the buyer's agent, quote unquote, like, that was still possible in the 80s. You could have a different agent represent you, and then you would just pay them directly. That was before the agreement between brokers, where the listing agent would actually pay the buyer's agent and the sellers would pay the listing agent. If we went back to a situation where buyers had to pay their own agent, they would just simply stop using buyer's agents, and then they would just go to the listing agent, and the listing agent would say this, charge the same thing they do right now.
Let me ask you this. Let's say this is the circle jerk that's going all the way around. We're just going with it. Whoa.
I love it.
Right?
Okay.
Here goes. Department of Justice issues in favor of getting rid of it's saying illegal.
Yeah,
right?
the buyers got to pay for their own commission.
Buyers got to pay for their own commissions. So here's what happens. Buyers start to see that. They're like, I'm not paying for my own commissions.
Right.
Then they go straight to the listing agent.
Right.
Then who's representing who? Then a lawsuit happens on that.
Yes.
Then buyer's agent commissions come back.
Yeah.
That's one theory. The next
Absolutely.
one is that homes start sitting on the market longer. And the sellers come back to the listing agent and like, man, what can we do? They're like, I don't know. Like, we're doing everything. Price reduction? No. How about we offer an incentive to buyer's agents to bring a buyer?
I don't reduce my commission.
We'll pay the buyer's agent's commission.
Yes. Like, come on. Like, this is.
It is.
This was.
I don't reduce my 6%
much
commission.
ado about nothing. You're 100% right. Because, by the way, do you know why buyer's agents' commissions became a thing in the first place? Because of a fiduciary conflict of interest of the buyer being represented by the listing agent.
This shouldn't
it's
even.
the reason this industry ended up the way that it is in the first place. So what are we doing here?
Yes, this is
350 million homeless people in California alone, and we're talking about this circular logic, but it
All of
doesn't
them are
make any
homeless.
sense.
Yeah, you just increased it to 350 million instead of 1,000.
It feels like 350 million.
I mean,
If
they're
you've-
about to be.
Look,
Have you been to like Santa Monica Beach lately?
No.
Terrible.
I've seen
Terrible
pictures.
now.
because they were represented.
Because but like this is much ado about nothing. I had another point I was going to make on this, but it just seems so dang silly that we do this type of thing. Actually, Kevin, above, that's what the point I was going to make. This is a really interesting theory. I do believe that when industries shift momentously, that a lot of different business models start to evolve at once. It is essentially the death throes of a significant shift in the industry as a whole. We have seen that in other industries. We've absolutely seen that in the financial industry. We've seen that in a lot of industries. Guys, right now we're seeing it in retail industries, right? We've seen that over the last decade or so. We've seen a lot of different types of models come out and then eventually conglomeration, right? And so this is such a weird analogy. This is the scene when T-1000 gets into the lava and then he keeps trying to get back out and he's evolving to all these different shapes and things and stuff, and then he eventually like subsides or whatever. Yeah, I do believe that this is an indication. All the different models coming out to attract talent, I do believe that is an indication of a future massive industry shift around the way that real estate brokerages operate. And I do believe the platform model is what's going to come out of that.
By the way, let's go back to the beginning of the show. So if you're
Start over.
If you haven't listened to the beginning, go back when we upload this.
We're actually just going to completely start over.
Yeah. All right. Rewind it.
Episode
Countdown.
154.
Do the countdown. But it goes back to for real estate brokers to stop saying that they're a tech company.
Please stop doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're playing the right game. We're playing the wrong game. Because if you remember the text message I sent yesterday, WeWork's former CEO has a new startup that is reportedly valued at more than $1 billion. And
they don't even have a website.
they
yet.
have a barely functioning website. They don't even know really what it's for residential real estate, and they don't even really know what it does.
Drives me crazy. You know what this was driving me? This is when, like, you know when your favorite band just puts out a trash album and you're like, God, I liked you guys so much. This hurts.
Like Where You're Going Tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
I'm going to the Incubus show tonight. But they've actually put out some trash albums too. But they'll probably just play the good stuff tonight. They're trying to get.
I don't think they play the trash at
Yeah,
concerts.
like they're getting older now. They're probably just trying to play the hits for their fans. But like, I respect Mark Andreessen so much. I think he is one of not only the smartest businessmen in the world, I think he's one of the smartest humans alive.
Who?
Mark Andreessen. He's so good. I love that. He's from Andreessen Horowitz, the VC venture capitalist firm that is investing in Flow. But by the way, that's a dumb name for a real estate company. It sounds, I was going to say something related to tampons, but it sounds stupid. It just sounds dumb.
Kind of think of the same thing.
And so anyway, I read the letter that he released, a couple days ago
Yep.
on kind of his reasoning or whatever. It was like listening to a song from your favorite band where you're just like, you just mailed this in so hard. Like, you're not describing anything in depth. You're not giving any indication of why this company is important. I don't know what they do. I don't think they know what they do. But they are worth $1 billion now. Kevin might be super right. This might be the death throes of a significant, monumentous shift in this industry.
Flow with a W.
I think it's with the W. It's just the
Yeah.
full. Which, by the way, was that not already a company? I don't know what they would do, but I just assumed that
That's
just
look,
the
that's
normal
probably-
noun, flow or verb, whatever
probably
way
why
Maybe
you're
they should
using it.
get a sponsor.
Was that not already a company of some sort? I just assumed because it's just one word. Like somebody would already made a company that.
I
did
assume
something.
that Armadillo Home Warranty is sponsoring that. That's probably why it's over $1 billion. So
I would think so.
Armadillo.1
I would think
/ not Flow TORE instead. So not Flow. TORE / tour.
They should have Flo Rida.
But
They would.
we do have an
celebrity
announcement. Force It Good, our new company,
Hell yeah.
is it's a tech company, and we got the website. Just go try to look for it. It's somewhere on there. It's a residential real estate company.
Yeah.
It's
gonna be great.
It's awesome.
And I'm a software engineer because
Yeah.
I know how to use WordPress.
Yeah, and it's going to disrupt the residential real estate, and then eventually the commercial real estate, and then maybe even the lending and insurance. And so
Galactic.
our opening bid for Series A investors is $1 billion.
Minimum.
Do you think if I grew my hair out as long as the guy from WeWork, people would give us money to do stuff like Kanye West ideas?
It's very pretty hair.
I think that's part of it. You need to wear a lot of flannel and grow your hair out. And then people are just like, that's a disruptor right there.
He's a
that guy looked
genius.
like he just walked straight out of the Space Needle in Seattle. He is so
just-
avant-garde.
I just made an observation here that Kelderman's been real quiet.
He has. He hasn't done much. There are some Family Guy episodes when Meg only has like one line.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
what Kelderman's been
You should
like
cut
today.
to Kelderman.
Oh, wait!
Oh,
Oh,
Kelderman had to go.
yeah.
had to bounce.
He did warn us today that he had to
He
leave
did.
early.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how to end the show now.
well, I mean, we ended by saying, first off,
What if we just sat here till next Wednesday when he got back?
armadillo.1/tour.
And then
If everyone goes and visits all these sponsors right now, we will end this show.
We will.
Otherwise, we will go 24/7.
Exactly. After you're done at armadillo.1/tour, just go flow right over to mortgagemicatexas.com.
Like Jesse says,
Check
we're
him
going to go
out.
all night. We're going all night.
And
Right.
then after that, I don't know, homewarddfw.com, the best property management company in all of the world.
It's better-
Check that out, too.
You're saying it's better than the WeWork because it's a tech property company.
Can I tell you guys something? This is actually a real story that's happening in my world, our world. You don't even know about this right now. We have a office for Homeward Property Management, and it's in not WeWork, because I'm not going to talk crap about them if it's not true. It's in a WeWork type space from a different company that is a WeWork. It's like a diet WeWork, like a WeWork knockoff or something. They emailed us literally 2 days ago, and they were like, we're no longer a company. Come pick up your mail by Friday. And I was like, we had a bunch of packages that were being sent, like digital lock boxes for our doors and stuff. Dana is like at the office right now talking to security, trying to get into the room to get our boxes and stuff, because they were just like, yeah, we're not a company anymore. And I was like, well, so now I already got a new office set up or whatever. But it's like the Wish version of WeWork. There is another. Here's the thing. I actually chose this one because I don't like WeWork's business model, and I didn't think that they had a lot of stable foundation as a company.
Well,
and
they
I was
proved
afraid
you
of this
wrong.
exact thing. This other company just went out of business first.
Yeah, they proved. I think that actually you were their vision. They're like, we're going to prove Brian Force wrong on this. We're going to stay. It doesn't matter how much we lose because we're going to keep raising money just to make sure that Brian doesn't come use our space.
So now we have
because of the hair.
Exactly. So now we have a real physical office just to get our crap delivered.
Are we doing a hypothetical or no today?
Give it to me.
We can.
I gotta go. What? Oh my
I want to
gosh.
do the who
I
would
like
win in a
that,
fight
actually.
between two half-size Bruce Lees
Mike
and
Tyson.
one
I'm
full-size
gonna tell you
Mike
right now.
Tyson.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm not a Bruce Lee hater at all.
Sounds like you are.
I am a realistic human being.
Wait. Reread that because it's two half-size Bruce
Two
Lees
half-size
know.
Bruce Lees.
versus one Mike Tyson.
One.
Yeah,
No.
it's not even going to be close.
Yeah, the
I
two
don't know,
Bruce
man.
Lees are they can go one in the front, one in the back.
They're going to be 2 feet tall.
Next
Bruce
dream.
Lee's really small. It's like
doesn't
really
matter.
small.
I mean, dude, that will destroy his knees.
Dude, all you have to do is go for the knees.
All right. Let me ask you guys a real, not hypothetical question, because this is where I was going with this. Have either of you seen footage of Bruce Lee in a real fight?
He's dead.
Ouch.
Way to go.
I said
Jeez.
footage. They
Wow.
have. You've seen footage of him doing demonstrations.
Way to go, Brian.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
a
s-
bear
look-
trap of the week.
Guys,
Too soon, Brian.
let
Too
me.
soon.
He's been dead for like 30 years. Let me ask you this: do you think if a lion tamer from the circus went out into the African plains,
Where does he go?
whatever, the plains of Africa, I was thinking of what's the Serengeti? Heavens,
Yes.
good Lord! And he went out
See, there it is.
and he just approached the
Yep.
biggest badass lion, not just in the circus, but in Africa, who Mike Tyson was the biggest, baddest dude in the heavyweight division ever in his prime, and tried to tame the lion with his, he got up on his dumb little stool and he started whipping it. Do you think that lion would cooperate? Because I am telling you right now, Bruce Lee is a fantastic martial artist when no one's fighting back. But if you cut him in half and then put him against the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, who also, by the way, is a crazy person, he could beat 100 half-size Bruce Lees. It wouldn't even be close. No one's ever hit Bruce Lee back.
That's
Bruce
because
Lee,
he's won every fight.
Bruce
He's undefeated.
Bruce Lee is... Dude, Bruce Lee. Do you know who Bruce Lee is? He is a very professional version. Man, I hope this joke lands. Do you guys watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yes.
No.
He is a very professional version of Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes.
He super thinks that he can fight and bench 1,000 pounds and all this stuff. And every time someone actually makes him try to prove it, he bitches out. I have never seen Bruce Lee in a real fight. I don't think there is. Actually, I know we're trying to wrap up the show. Can you just Google, was Bruce Lee ever in a real fight? I think that he's a very good athlete. I am not taking that away from him. Did Bruce Lee ever actually fight anybody? Bruce Lee in a real fight. This is a demonstration.
No,
Bruce Lee's only ever real fight recorded. I'm going to tell you right now.
Recorded.
I can tell you from the stance he is lined up in before the fight. This is not. Oh my gosh. This is not a real.
Oh, he just killed that dude's dead. He's
Look,
dead.
It just did a slow motion kick to the other guy's thigh, and the other guy's fine. Easy for Bruce Lee. Guys, this is not a real fight.
No,
This is not a real fighter.
I'm telling you,
he kicked a guy in the hip, and the guy didn't even lose his balance. This guy can't fight. He's a great athlete. He can demonstrate what it should look like if you were. Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, it might be better if you cut him in half because that'd be harder to defend.
No.
One's only legs and one's only arms. Like, how do you even game plan
Look,
for that?
Tyson.
What kind of film are you watching?
Tyson's gonna swing over his head,
He's gonna swing over
and
his
the
head.
Bruce Lee in the back is gonna get his Achilles or his knees. Like, look, I'm just telling you
He
right
might
now.
just bite his Achilles.
Yeah,
There is no,
You can't come back from that.
I'm going to tell you right now. I respect Bruce Lee. If
It doesn't
Bruce
sound
Lee,
like it.
If Bruce Lee had stepped in the ring or the octagon, call it, with even a mediocre dude who had been in 100 real fights, Bruce Lee gets knocked out in the first round. It is different when you're inside there. I'm telling you, it is different. And Bruce Lee doesn't know that because according to him, he's actually a glass of water. But he's not a real fighter.
It's a 2-inch punch, though.
It is. Yeah,
Or maybe
he's gonna,
1-inch punch.
He's
I
going to
don't
have no reach, Nick. He's half the size. His reach is going to be like 3 inches. Mike could literally just walk away.
Chuck Norris or Mike Tyson.
Chuck Norris is like 140 pounds, dude. And actually, Chuck Norris, by the way, has been in real fights. He was a Taekwondo champion. If I'm not, you might want to correct me on that. It might be judo. Chuck Norris is a bad motherfucker. Chuck Norris, champion of something. He's an actual is a karate. Yeah. Dude, he won the 60s All-Star Championships. They weren't really thinking hard about the karate names back then. World Middleweight Karate Championships, All-American Karate Champion 67, International Champion 68, World Professional Middleweight Karate Champion, defeating Luis Delgado. Apparently he's notable. Chuck Norris can fight. Chuck Norris really fights people. And then he became a real Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
And then he retired with all that Bowflex money. Or was it Total Gym? I think it was Total Gym.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee has no championships.
Armadillo.1/tour.
Okay. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, then we're done. Bruce Lee holds 7 unbroken titles. Do you want to know what the titles are? He can do 400 push-ups and 200
On one hand.
On one hand. Fantastic. I said the guy's a good. I said
200 on
I
2
said
fingers.
the guy is a
How
great
many
athlete.
push-ups on 2 fingers can you do?
I cannot do any on 2 fingers, and I think I can do maybe 5 on one hand. I can't do 400. He's a phenomenal athlete whom no one has ever punched right in the fucking face. Miss you, Bruce. Get us out of here.
Rest in peace.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the Only Real Estate Podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review. Please go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.